Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Definitely appreciate you checking in with the channel. Please consider becoming a subscriber. And if you like the way that any of these topics are being broken down or discussed, I'd appreciate it greatly if you hit that like button before getting out of here. Look, so it's some interesting stuff that's going on with the NBA and how it could impact college basketball. You know that this is the first year that we did not have the very lucrative and exciting, and sometimes, this tournament has a way of catapulting some kids into immediate superstardom almost. So but it's kind of being threatened with what I'll get into, which is this. So a couple of weeks ago, as a Michigan fan, a lot of a lot of fans of the Wolverines, myself included, were very disappointed when this decommitted a 6'10" power forward from Baltimore, Maryland, named Isaiah Todd. He decommitted to go to the G League. And so I'm sitting here like, well, how is this going to work? How, because the G League teams are tied or affiliated with NBA teams, I believe. So how would this work? Now you're actually being taken by an NBA team. You might as well be in the draft. But that's not the case. So let's go into what's happening. Shout out to abdur-rahim, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, who is the former player and president of the NBA G League. They have launched this G League pathway program. So kids like Isaiah Todd, Jalen Green, a 6'5" kid out of California who recently announced that he'll be going to the G League. There's this other kid out there. I don't know if his name is Deshaun, but it's Daishen, Nix. He's also decommitted from UCLA to go the G League route. And to answer the question, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, they have this new select team, which will allow him to take the best of these truly elite, can't miss prospects, and give them an alternative to going to college or going abroad or overseas to play for a year, as some other guys have elected to do. But with this G League pathway, the salaries can go up from $250,000 a year to $500,000 a year. Like I said, these kids would all be on one team, and that team could be based at the late Kobe Bryant's Mamba Sports Academy. I believe that's in Thousand Oaks, California. And then then they would play about 20 to 25 games. And right now, former NBA coach and former G League coach Sam Mitchell is actually in negotiations, or has some negotiations to become the coach of that team. And so this is a lucrative opportunity. This isn't the way that it was previously. So my question was just how could this possibly affect how future March Madnesses might look if we lose these upper echelon kids? If Zion Williamson didn't have to go to Duke for a year, or RJ Barrett or whatnot, if they open up this floodgate and start paying these kids this type of money, I would think that increasingly more of the upper echelon prospects would strongly consider this. And it's probably a situation where it won't be the same level of anonymity that has existed previously with the G League. We also have that Baisley kid, Darius Baisley. He's actually from nearby in Cincinnati. He was up in the NBA this past season, I want to say with OKC. But he did his year in the G League and didn't go to college. We never heard nothing about him. And like I said, now he's joined OKC. Now, it might not be much to get too concerned about, because in 2022 the league can actually the one and done rule or requirement could be negotiated out of the CBA moving forward, which would clear the way for somebody like Imani Bates out of Michigan, who just won Gatorade Player of the Year, I believe. This kid wouldn't even have to mess around with the G League and this pathway program. He could just go straight to the league. Now, Sharif Abdur-Rahim himself, he happens to be a father of a highly touted high schooler, a 6'7" wing player named Jabri Abdur-Rahim. And this kid is he's elected. He knows firsthand what's going on with this program, but he actually has elected to head to University of Virginia because he actually loved the environment. He went to Duke. He also visited or had given some consideration to going to Notre Dame and another school or two. But he is going to go to VA and not mess around with this type of program, because he just loved the environment once he got to VA and checked out. He was just more eager to go along with the college experience for him. So all of this is kind of detailed in this Forbes article. I've been checking out Forbes quite a bit more lately, and looking at some of their sports articles. They also have at least one cat that covers boxing. This article is out there by Adam Zagoria. And, last point to consider is, I don't know if you've had a chance to check out that documentary. I want to say it's on Showtime, The Scheme, which kind of details what all went down with the Christian Dawkins cat from out of Saginaw, Michigan, who got entangled, in an FBI sting to take down or take on corruption in college basketball, and coaches being paid, so on and so forth. I would suggest checking out that documentary for your own thoughts about Christian Dawkins and that whole investigation, and so on and so forth. But the interesting thing was, if you watch it, there's no doubt about it that these kids are being paid at some of the biggest basketball universities in the country. Now those kids are being paid. They're negotiating $150,000, maybe $200,000. So I don't know how much this really changes, because kids are already getting paid. And matter of fact, the payments probably go up if they knowingly have to compete with these deals with the select team. Now, do they have enough kids for there to be a second select team, or for them to open this up to the entire G League? How would they go about doing that? I'm assuming they would take the kids in and then disperse them amongst the G League teams to make it work. But as a college basketball fan and as a March Madness fan, my favorite sporting event of the entire year. It just makes you wonder how things could change. And I can't even begrudge these kids for looking into this option when it's an opportunity to get paid. And some of these kids, they want to go and do basketball full time and worry about their development and chasing their dream of being an NBA player and not, a college athlete. There's a 7'2" kid from the Philippines, actually, Kai Soto. He's had some discussions and interaction with the G League, but it looks like he's going to remain at some sports academy and continue to work on his game. There's also a cousin of the Detroit Pistons, Thon Maker, He's got like a 6'10", 6'11" cousin who is coming out of the I can't think of it's not a it's in between high school and prep school. He's at a prep school, and he's kind of weighing his option of going to college for 1 year or possibly going to the G League. Another kid, I think his name is Greg Brown, he turned down $300,000 from the Pathway program to head on to the University of Texas. So it'll be interesting to see, the kids that choose the Pathway and the kids that elect to go to college. And then we have to keep an eye, as I mentioned, on whether or not the one and done rule is done away with altogether, and where we are coming out of this thing. But I think it's a good thing. It gives kids more options, and it allows more time for development. Several years ago, before the one and done situation or requirement was put in place, I just felt like it was at least 10 to a dozen kids that I saw come into the NBA draft. 6'5", 6'7" kids who who were obvious standouts in at the high school level, but you never even heard their name after draft night. And you had millions of dollars being committed to these kids by the NBA, and you just knew that wasn't a sustainable situation to have millions and millions of dollars thrown after, and you had to have something and some kind of mechanisms in place to help these teams protect them from themselves, because you just didn't have anything to weigh, whether or not you wanted to bring one of these kids in, or whether or not they weren't ready. You just didn't get the right environment or conditions to really see whether they were true prospects or not. So I think this is a step in the right direction. Again, we have other things that we have more stuff to monitor to see how things change, and ultimately it'll still be a decent amount of kids in the college ranks. And maybe this pushes us towards some kind of way to compensate these college kids. So again, my name is Wood. I'd be interested to know what your feedback is on this G League Pathway program. Whether you think it's going to impact, have a great impact on college basketball, and whether or not you think the one and done program will actually, or requirement will actually go away, and just maybe your thoughts on the future of college basketball, and will we be interested in the regular season before we get to March Madness, and will March Madness not be as great? So a lot of things to take in, just based off of, these changes. But again, shout out to Abdur-Rahim, man, for being involved in the process. I've commented before that, guys like Carmelo Anthony, when he was out of the league, and Allen Iverson, we give him all of this love. But very few of these guys actually go and get involved and go to work every day to help give back, to players after them, or to improve the situation and make things better. And actually, you saw with Iverson, he did a season and a half or half a season with the big three, and then he just bounced on Ice Cube. And so shout out to some of these former athletes, man, who have, like I said, who devote time and effort and energy to being a part of the system to try to change the system and make it better, versus just being somebody out here talking about how I got done wrong. Again, my name is Wood. Thanks for pressing play on this video. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.